The plot thickens. It turns out that the premise with which we were sold the Chagos Island deals may actually be false. The so-called threats that the UK would face if we didn't hand them over, crumbling when challenged. Why are we really doing this? What is wrong with Sir Keir Starmer and his government? Why are they intent on giving away the Chagos Islands to the Mauritius? It actually winds me up when I hear people using the phrase giving them back to the Mauritius, because that would mean that Mauritius have a legitimate claim to them. They don't. And Sir Keir Starmer is such a hypocrite.
The future of Greenland is for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark, and for Greenland and the future of Denmark only. And Denmark is a very close ally of the UK, both in Europe and in NATO, and it's very important that we're clear about the principles applicable to here. Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark must determine the future of Greenland and nobody else.
But when Muslim Mandarin and his father landed on L'Île de Con, the island in Chagos that his father was actually born on, Sir Keir Starmer sent out a patrol to hand them an eviction notice.
Removal order, saying, like, I have to leave the atoll, my homeland. If I don't, I might be in prison for 3 years.
What happened to our so-called human rights lawyer? What happened to the self-determination of the Chagossians? What happened to their human rights? It was only later on in the week that somebody somewhere realised what a bad look it would be, and they were given a temporary reprise. The Conservatives, remember them? They started all of this on their watch, although at least they parked it in the long grass. They are now accusing the Defence Secretary John Healey of misleading Parliament. In May, John Healey said that the government faced a legal challenge within weeks if it did not agree to the handover. He said there are a range of international legal challenges and rulings against us. The most proximate and the most potentially serious is the International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. However, it turns out that Article 298 of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea has an exemption for military bases. This is the second time that Labour have tried to put forward legal reasoning to explain why they are giving away, at great cost to the taxpayer, a group of islands of such strategic importance. And when you hear that Sir Keir Starmer's close friend K.C. Phillips-Sands reportedly earned a share of £8 million for his part in the deal, and that the former Mauritian Prime Minister Pravind Jugnauth, the architect of the deal he negotiated with Keir Starmer, was arrested on corruption charges early last year, you've got to ask yourself, what the hell is going on? Now, I'm not saying that Keir Starmer has done anything wrong, but the optics aren't good. The Chagossians are undeterred, as 50 more are due to land soon. Muslim Mandarin told GP News he would rather be killed than leave.
The first time we met, Martin, I said, I will give my life for my country. So that still stands. They're going to have to kill me if they want to live, if they want to remove me by force. And history can't repeat itself again. It happened in the late 60s, early 70s, but this is 2026.
While fellow Chagossian Pamela Emion says that Sir Keir Starmer should be ashamed.
How could immigrants who cross our channel every day come here in UK with no legal document, with no passport? How could they get support more than the British citizen? But what about us? We are the taxpayer here. That's not them. He needs to stand with us, not against us. That man is anti-British and he's a traitor. He betrayed us.
And now Sir Keir Starmer has been accused of betraying the special relationship by blocking Donald Trump from using RAF bases to strike Iran. With Trump on the warpath, might this revenge be torpedoing the Prime Minister's Chagos deal? So the pressure mounts for Sir Keir Starmer to stop the handover of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. What's one more U-turn?
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living. And maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney. Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind the more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
Well, I'm joined by Labour commentator Simon Greaves. Simon, welcome to the programme. Well, I mean, am I wrong? Does this just not look a bit... I don't know, why are we doing this? Why are we honestly handing these islands over? It makes no sense to me.
Well, as we know, under the Conservatives, we lost twice at international tribunals. The standing of Diego Garcia is not on a sound footing, and it's important that it's placed on a solid international footing. And after 11 sets of negotiations by the Tories, the Labour government takes office and picks the deal up from there. So it's important that we're already on the back foot about this internationally, I'm afraid. It is not easy to simply ignore these issues. And the government have been doing its very best in order to get the best deal internationally and to secure the future of a very important military base that everyone recognises.
Well, the Conservatives may have, gone through this deal and then decided it was a bad idea, which is why they didn't follow through. They may have started it. There's one thing starting it, but then there's another thing finishing something that doesn't make any sense or seems bad. And also, I mean, look, why are Labour doing this, though? What is the benefit for the taxpayer and the British people here in getting rid of this group of islands?
Well, we're doing this because, as a country, we believe in international law and we stand by international law. We're on the wrong side of international law findings on this issue. And so we need to resolve this. We can't ignore it, as I've said. So 11 sets of negotiations. I don't remember the Conservatives in office ever crying foul or saying that this isn't something that needs to be progressed. It was Rishi Sunak that started those negotiations off, remember. And so the government have picked up the baton, progressed it, got agreement from the US on this, and then we get into the territory of opposition parties acting like an opposition, suddenly having absent-minded about everything they've done previously, now trying to blame Keir Starmer. Well, that's a bit rich, I'm afraid.
Well,
and running off to Donald Trump in order to sabotage a deal by the UK government says more about them than it does Keir Starmer.
Well, what does it say? Well, doesn't it say that they perhaps thought it was a bad deal? They didn't finish it. People sort of get annoyed listening to Labour politicians or Labour commentators going back on and saying, well, they started it. They did start it. And I have spoken to them about why they started it. And all of them said that they realised it was a bad idea, which is why they didn't finish it. So when you've got something rotten, you don't carry it through. So I'm just wondering why it's a good idea to carry on something that would cost the taxpayer just over £30 billion over a period of 99 years. But that's still a lot of money when that money could be invested in other things.
Well, it's because we have to stand up for international law and abide by the international rules of the game. That's the reason why we're able to call out Donald Trump for his manoeuvres on Greenland like he did. And also as to why we call out Putin in relation to his actions in Ukraine. So the Tories cried foul after the event and actually when it suited them. So I think that it's very important internationally that we sort this deal out and get it agreed in Parliament.
All right, well, Article 298 of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea said that actually what John Healey was saying was actually not relevant because it would be exempt. But stay with me, because I've got some breaking news for you, Simon. I want to get your opinion. President Donald Trump has made the following statement on Truth Social. The president has announced that he is raising global tariffs to 15% as he continues to respond to the Supreme Court striking down tariffs he announced earlier this year. So there we go. That is the breaking news, that President Trump has created a unilateral tariff now, 15%, which I don't think is good for the UK. So I'll read that again. He announced that he's raising global tariffs to 15% as he continues to respond to the Supreme Court striking down tariffs that he announced earlier this year. Simon, your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm afraid the president's not listening to his own Supreme Court and the judgment just the other day. This is not. I think that we're seeing peak Donald Trump from a few weeks ago now. The president isn't able to take this course of action. It's going to get knocked back in the Supreme Court again, inevitably. And everything's heading towards a midterm problems for the Republicans. This is a president that's now thrashing around, trying to make out he's in charge when actually things are slipping through his fingers.
Well, I think he was allowed to raise tariffs, but no higher than that. And so, but he's not allowed to give you 90% and you 40% and you this and that. So I think he's working within his new rules, but that means that he's raised them all unilaterally to 15% as opposed to the 10% that they were at.
Well, the tariffs are a matter for Congress, ultimately, and the president will continue to test the fence in terms of what he can get away with. He's failed recently. It wouldn't surprise me if he failed again on this.
All right, well, we shall see. Now, let's just come back to Chagos again, because I just wanted to just talk about this Article 298 of the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, which exempted the military bases. And John Healey was using the reasoning why he was doing the Chagos deal and why he was pursuing it. And this is the second time that the Labour government have used another bit of legalese to try and explain why they're doing it. But this says that actually the reasoning that you're using doesn't actually apply because you're a military base.
But all the issues of this nature were placed before the tribunal and it found against the UK. So it's not just a question of simply Diego Garcia, it is the whole set of islands that need to be considered. So I'm afraid to say the UK is on the wrong side of international law on this, and that's why there's been a great deal of effort in order to find a solution that secures the future of this important military base in the eyes of international law.
Well, I hear you, but I keep reading to you something that is international law that's saying that you don't have to do it because it's a military base. So I'm just pointing out that actually the reasoning that John Healey gave, and now the Conservatives are pushing forward, that he actually misled Parliament. Just your final thoughts on Chagos. Then, you think it's a good idea that we're giving them away and paying to lease them?
I think it's a necessary thing. I'm not saying that anyone would, first of all, want to do this, but we have to abide by international law, find a solution with our neighbours and partners. And that's the reason for this.
And to help with the Chagossians.
It was entirely wrong of the UK to evict them in the very beginning. And
so when they go back, why can't they?
And I don't know that there will be other detail, I'm afraid, in the background that I'm sure that all the partners are dealing with. But it was the UK's fault for evicting them in the first place. And that's part of the problem as to why we're in this mess right now.
OK, all right. Thank you very much. Really good to talk to you.